Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is November the 10th, 1442 on the ancient moon calendar, 1443 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2022 on the Greco-Roman civil calendar. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign living ancient, Article 3. Moorish American Al-Moroccan Universal Court Action. We are the sovereign living justices, and I am Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in proprio persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original indigenous, sovereign ancient Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet, and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves. For we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state for Morocco. We are the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District 4, Columbia. We are the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today we are executing and exercising the law by our sovereign capacity, which is the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3 living United States District 4 Columbia Court. And we are the sovereign fiduciaries, secured creditors, executors, trustees, ministers, possessors, and beneficiaries in this cause for action. We are peace, we are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby accept our sovereign ascension. We issue a universal creditor's bill for possession against all judgment debtors and exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc-pro-tunc. Islam. First, we want to congratulate everyone who participated in our national 3-day fast this past full moon. Our fast every month, every month we do a full moon fast. We fast the day before the full moon, the day of, and the day after. And that fast takes on whatever form you choose. If you choose to fast completely from all food and just do water, then that's fine. If you want to fast sun up to sundown, that's fine. If you want to fast from negative energy, that's fine. However, the ancestors manifest fasting for you, through you. We do it together, and we're finding out that the nations at earth are beginning to do the same thing. And for that, we are so grateful. So with that being said, we know that while we're fasting, that we are absolutely not the only ones fasting. Just one moment. Computer up. Oh. Okay, I needed to plug my computer up. So, with that being said, we will open the floor, or open the table rather, because we don't sit on the floor, we sit on the table, at the table. And anyone who has any questions about demonstrations that you've done, if you have any testaments, how are your demonstrations going? That is actually the question for this day, is how are things going? That's the question. And however you choose to express that, specifically with regard to Moorish demonstrations, we would be wanting to hear. If you've had any demonstrations that you've done and you want to discuss how the outcome of them, we would be interested in hearing that if you choose to. Islam. Are there any questions or comments or testaments with regard to any successes that you've had, things that may have turned out differently than you expected, free expression in terms of the demonstrations. Anyone, Islam. And the floor is open to all. If you want to say something, please *6 so that everyone can hear you. Islam.
Islam, Tonus Bay, Khalifa Territories.
Islam, Justice Tonus, thank you for what you sent me. I got the package, by the way. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I cannot thank you enough for the Delarium. Thank you.
You're worth it.
Thank you.
So, I have a little, I don't know what you would call it, but today I've been doing mail outs
Mm-hmm.
using tax per queue, and today the I use several different post offices, by the way, and the main post office where my address or where the address is. When the packages or when the letters came, there's a $8 charge on them
Mm-hmm.
for each envelope.
Okay. So the mailing method matters. When we put a mailing method on the public record, they honor that mailing. And then if they see something different from that, then they don't have any way to do anything except look at their books and look at the things that they have written out for citizens. So it would be best. It would be best to use the mailing method that our government set up, which is us. And I can put the link to that video in the chat if you'd like. I don't know if you've seen the video where we show our government mailing process.
That's the process I did.
Okay. Did you?
At first,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I did a heavier mailing because I, put a couple in to see what would happen.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. They came through. I got the green card, everything had signed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, great. So then I applied
Mm-hmm.
for like 20. Well, in 4 different post offices, like 20.
Hold on for just a minute, Justice Tonus, because they're saying they can't. They're saying that they can barely hear you. Is there any way that you could maybe speak a little bit louder or come closer to your microphone?
Can you hear me now?
It sounds low. I will say that it does sound low.
Okay. That's not really much I can do about that.
Okay.
But I guess I'll just pay for them. I did do
No.
that process though, and it worked at first.
And so, and what you're saying that? So you're saying that you used. Let me just clarify. So you used the mailing process that we use for our government,
Mm-hmm.
and it worked for a while. And you're saying now it's not working?
As of today, yes.
Okay. So what? Have you changed anything about it, or have you changed the address or the mailing location that it's coming from?
No, it's been the same because I got a few of those. I made a few of those when I made them.
Okay. So here's what I would suggest, because when things like that start to happen, that means that they're looking closer at the process. It has something to do with the address that you're mailing from. And it also has to do with, it may have something to do with what you're mailing, but I doubt that. But most likely it has something to do with the address that you're using to send the things from. Did you do you put a zip code on the mailing location in the upper left corner? That's the problem. That's the problem. That's always, anytime anyone uses our government mailing process because we don't use fiat, the mailing location that you're sending the item from cannot have a zip code. It cannot have a zip code because the process that is being used is saying that it's coming from the government, and the government doesn't have a zip code. Yeah, that's why. They let some of them go when people are first doing those demonstrations and their energy is clear, and they're saying, okay, they're trying to encourage us to go ahead and yes, go, this is the right process. And then after a while they'll say, okay, let's look a little closer and see if we can make this more perfect, a more perfect process. And with that, it's always going to be that part. They will go through easily the same way that ours do. We've shown how we do our mailing location. We use latitude and longitude. We use the natural area code. We use ancient English, and they still get it back to us as long as there's no zip code on there. Yeah. The zip code is for whoever you're sending it to. They have to have a zip code for them, but not for us. And then too, even if someone is yeah, we don't have zip codes. They do. Government doesn't have zip codes. We have latitude and longitude because we're on the land. And then those that we're notifying are generally going to be in that corporate CETUS trust, quote unquote, which has zip codes. Now, when we're doing commerce, we have zip codes on the land, but it has to be in a commercial setting. And when we're sending out affidavits and things, that's always straight from the government. Okay. Yeah, Islam. Yeah. I am grateful that the process is honored, because when we first put the video out to do it, some doubted that we were the government, among our own. We didn't have any problems with the subjects. It was our own, Moors that said, I don't know if that will work. And I can't, the programming, I don't blame them because the programming was there. But we've been using our mailing process now for 4 years. And it's been nothing but success. And those who use it, they get the same result when it's done the way that we did it in the video. And that video has been out there since 2018, I believe. That was one of the first demonstrations that we did where the ancestors were sent, because I was telling the ancestors, we cannot use fiat. We're not going to use fiat. So you all are going to have to show me how to do this without using fiat. And they've been faithful. Our ancestors have been faithful to us in showing us how to get things done without using fiat. And now they're showing us how to use our Moorish Sovereign Dollarium to remedy the things that we need to remedy. And we started that. We showed that demonstration on the last call. But if there are some who may need us to further expand on that, we're happy to. So, Islam, Empress.
Could you post the video with the mailing process, please, in the chat?
Sure, I sure will. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll also put it under I'll put it under this video on YouTube. Just one moment. Okay. Are there any other questions while we're pulling up that video?
I have a question.
Islam.
Islam. How do we get hold of the Delarium? How can we?
I can email it to you, or someone in this chat can email it to you.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
Sure. How do we get your mailing? Can you see the chat? If you could put your email.
No, I can't see the chat, but you can send it to Shay Marie. I think she's there.
Okay. Can someone, let's see, in any of the empresses who have Delarium, can you get the Delarium to the empress? Any of the empresses here on the call who have Delarium? Empress Angel, Empress, any empresses who have?
Yes. Is there email in the chat?
I
don't have access to the chat.
Okay.
I just put my, I'm sorry, Islam. I just put my email in the chat. You can send it to me.
Oh, and then you'll forward it over?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I did have a question about going more in depth about the Delarium and how they're used. Maybe I'm a little slow in understanding and understanding this the concept.
Mm-hmm. Actually, we're all learning how to do it together because we see how it's done. We just, we're all walking together with that whole, because this is the first time in our lifetime since we've been here in this dimension, this time around, that we've had our own money. We as a people never had our own money until now that we knew of, that we could actually use. So,
so they could just, I'm sorry, they could just print it out from our printer. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Yes, we are the Federal Reserve because that's what we're, the Federal Reserve. We're also the Treasury, and so we have been. That is how we. Just one moment. Just one moment. Here I am trying to get this link to this video. Yeah, we're all learning together how to do that. How to use our money, how to use our credit, and all of the above. So, okay, here, let me put this in the chat. Islam Empress.
Underwear.
Hold on for just a moment. My computer is really doing it.
So for everyone you buy, we donate one.
Just a moment. Okay. Islam Empress.
Freedom. So I just wanted to share that I have my chosen appellation, and I'm sending out my documents to place on the record one day this week. There's no hope. There is a doing. I haven't seen any type of demonstrations in my territory, Alaska territory. So I'm excited to place those on the record.
Islam. So we're excited for you as well, Empress. And also, I will say this, that when normally when any of us get started demonstrating, we always, for some reason, the ancestors set us apart. They sanctify us. Sanctify just means set apart. They set us apart so that we learn to stand on our own 2 feet, as opposed to doing something with this huge group. For the first, it's almost like a form. It's almost a type of sequestration, where you feel like I'm the only one in the territory doing this. I don't know any other Moors that are doing it, and the ancestors will say, "Yep, that's the way we want it to be." Now, just focus on your study and demonstrate. Study and demonstrate, because in reality, we are waking everyone else up. So you are sent.
I just want to tell children that we are definitely a set apart people.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
Yes.
I also had a question. So I know I'm canceling all contracts, dead contracts. But I currently receive a portion of child support. And so once this going, I was listening to the video, and it was get their application and recreate it in affidavit form without filling out the application. But is it going to be a new application, or how would that work? Because I don't have I'm in a different state than when it was enacted.
Okay, so first, what you are doing is you're not terminating the benefit. You're terminating who governs the benefit. And so when you terminate who governs the benefit, those who have been issuing the child support, their position changes. They still do their work, but their position changes. They go from being the child support people to being custodians of the child support court, which is you. So you're not issuing a new contract. What you're doing is you're saying the court is speaking about the benefit. It's not a new contract because we don't contract with them. What we're doing is we're saying this is not a contract between you and the child support people. This is an Article 3 Supreme Court order from you, the judge, to the custodians in the office of child support, because in reality, no one can support children but the Moors, because there's nothing for them to support them with. So why are they calling themselves child support? They're not child support. They are actually custodians in your office. You support your heirs. Now, the benefit that comes shall continue. It will continue. Currently, I've been getting, or my fiduciary, I'm the fiduciary of the all caps, and the all caps, Pauline Denise Ritchie, is a veteran, an honorably discharged veteran from the military. And so we get a veteran's benefit every month. So what have we done? We terminated anyone's ability to call themselves the VA or the Veterans Administration. That's not who that is. We're the Veterans Administration. We govern all of the checks and things that come through, so that if someone tries to tax or something like that, we just let them know that, hold up, who are you first? Okay.
Hey, Pauline, since you govern the VA, how much do I get a month?
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing, Empress. Just one moment. I want to make sure. Empress, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, good. So it's not a new contract. What it is you're terminating the contract that said that someone else can govern that. Just a moment. Let's get a little order in the court. So it's not a new contract. All it is stating that whatever is there is yours, and you govern it, not anyone else. Okay. Or shall I expand a little further on what termination of corporate contracts is?
Please.
Okay. So, termination of corporate contracts is this. When, I'll just use the VA as an example. When I first applied for VA benefits, I was asleep. And so they sent some documents, and I signed those documents, and giving them the right at that time, saying, you all can go into my trust account, okay, because I was a debtor at the time. I was a debtor. Everyone who thought that they were the dead United States citizens were debtors. So they went into a debtor account. They issued some credits. The debtor account had the name of the dead on it. And I claimed that name in all capital letters. I claimed it. I said, that Pauline Denise Ritchie is me. That's what I said back then, because I didn't know that that wasn't me. So they started issuing benefits every month for the VA thing. But the benefits are, the benefit itself, that word, benefit, we govern all benefits, all benefits. That's why they needed my signature to send anything. See, even then we were still the government. We just didn't know that by signing our signature that we were governed. We should have been governing that. And so what we're doing when we terminate corporate contracts is we're saying this initial application that we signed to get that benefit is null and void. Not the benefit, but the paperwork. That paperwork is fraudulent paperwork. So the benefit keeps coming, and we say, okay, this paperwork is fraudulent because that's not even me. I'm not a debtor. I'm actually the creditor. So you're just putting paperwork in place that switches who's the creditor and who's the debtor. So that's what terminating corporate contracts, and then at the same time reconstructing the application to make it an affidavit. Okay? And the affidavit will state who you really are, that you're the creditor to all child support benefits, and that your heirs are not for sale. Though that is because it's going to change. It changes everything in terms of even what the benefit is called. You know, because it's human trafficking when they do it. Because they didn't birth those heirs. You did. You're responsible for those heirs. So it's human trafficking when they claim to be child support. Because those are not their children. So then you say, okay, I'm going to put paperwork that looks very similar to, it's going to look almost exactly like what you did before, with just a few changes in the language. And your name change and judicial proclamation affidavits going with it. And that of the heirs. So you want to do a name change and judicial proclamation for the heirs as well. Okay.
Next question.
Say again.
No, I said that was going to be my next question. Like, how do I proceed? Because we had been talking about name change with my children. So
yeah,
that was a beautiful expression. Thank you for that.
Islam, and also, you know, your children, they can even keep the names the appellations that you gave them. They can keep them, what you're saying is no one has the authority to use those names to traffic the children or anything. You know, because when we give our heirs their holy appellations, we give it thought, and so their appellations, they can have a separate free national name if they want one, or you can just, and that's up to you and them, or you can just claim the capitalism, because that's really what this is about. The frauds have been using their capitalism to traffic those who did not know. And all you're doing is taking complete control over everything that has to do with your heirs. So a name change in judicial process, the very same one that you do for you, you do it for them also. And they can sign or you can sign for them, either one. And then for those parents who, for example, there are some of the sons who have children that are in other places, other states, and so on and so forth, you can do name change and judicial proclamation for your minor heirs also, and sign for them so that you can start notifying people that, hey, that's my heir. They may not be here with me, but that is an heir. Okay, particularly those those heirs who, yes, Islam. Are there any other questions and comments? And we are going to talk about the Delarium Empress, Islam. So with regard to Delarium, I'm just particularly excited about this piece because it is what we've been waiting for. I was waiting for the ancestors to just show us how do we use our own money. You gave us, I was telling the ancestors, you gave us this gift. How do we use it? And they said, just hold on and keep putting things in place so that it can be used. And so the way that we use our Delarium, first, our nationality is the first thing that has to go on the public record. I have to say that because that dictates where you are, and that's why nationality is so important. There have been Moors who, who felt like maybe they did not need to declare their nationality, that they could do quote-unquote common law actions and quote-unquote sovereign citizen actions and activities with regard to all of the things that are happening and unfolding, and that will only get you so far. It'll do a little bit, but not much. Not much. You must declare your nationality first. In order for Delarium to work for you, in order for court to work for you, in order for anything to work for you, you must declare your nationality. Why is that important? Because it determines where you are. Are you on the land? Only the heirs can say that. And here's the thing about the subjects. Subjects can't put themselves on the land. They actually have to come on the land with us. We have to do it. So whenever you hear about subjects coming from overseas and stuff, there was always at least one more on the boat with them. When they came here from Europe, that every boat had at least one more on it. When you hear the story about the Mayflower and the Santa Maria, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, it's Moors on there because they can't come here without us. So they can't travel the seas without us. They can't travel on land without our permission. So now that we know where everyone is and that everyone is on the land, you have to continuously demonstrate that you're on the land in order for Delarium to be used. What does that mean? That means notifying everyone of your nationality and your national standing and your status. And then, for example, if you have a bill, if you've received a bill of some kind, we'll use the same examples that we used previously. To demonstrate the use of Delarium and how Delarium helps us. So let's see.
So why did Rose get
Just one moment.
evicted
Hold
then,
on.
huh?
Just
Or
a moment.
Cynthia or Akil?
Just a moment. Okay. So here, let me pull up the demonstration. See, while we're going through this also, Moors, as we're learning to continue to stand and demonstrate who we really are, once we realize that what we're about to show you now about how to use our money and how to state where you are, Moors will not be getting evicted and things like that. That stuff will not happen because there's no one who can do that when we know we're on the land. But the issue has been, do we know it? And how do we prove that? Okay. The ancestors have already promised that they would, some sevenfold, some 50-fold, some 100-fold. You'll get back all of the things that you thought you lost during testing, because you don't really lose anything. All of it belongs to us anyway. We just have to know where we are and know how to state where everything is. So let me find this particular. Okay, this is what I wanted to show. Actually, not that. I wanted to show the ticket situation. Okay. So I'll show you again what was sent and how we used Delarium to remedy the issue. And I don't think I showed you the summons last time, but we'll go back through it again. Let me just pull all of this up. Okay. So we some corpses, okay, had sent some quote unquote traffic infractions to the mailbox, to their corpse in the mailbox. Well, we went out to the mailbox. We saw what was sent, and we said, okay, we know that this is not us. We know that they're not talking to us. How do we prove that they are not talking to us with these documents and with this with this paperwork? So let's see. I want to show the original ones that were sent.
Islam, while you're searching for that, how would this document look once the scheduled hearing has taken place? Would you send out another notice?
Once it has taken place, what I would do is notify them of the results of what happened, of the outcome, what the outcome was. And it would look pretty much like this. So initially, I want to show the original the original documents. Just one moment. Maybe they're here. I probably didn't even put them in the file with the remedy just because you know, the energy.
Islam, yes, because looking at that, and then I saw the court seal that at the bottom as you were scrolling, and as we was talking earlier today, as one of the documents I was, in my head, I haven't crafted it yet, but I can use this format and state that this hearing has already taken place because I already did my court case, and got the number for the free conference call and all these different things and such, and so just send this to all the parties that are involved, and just proceed.
Yeah, this is the redacted version of what came to the corpses. This is what they sent. This is a they would call it a red light infraction, a traffic infraction. They have a photo here. They have and then they have some language here. But let's just start at the top with what was sent. As I was looking at this and seeing what needs to be done about this and how do we properly rebut this, the ancestors began to speak to me about overturning anything on a technicality. That language we've heard in many, when you're watching movies on television and things back in the day, they would have a court case and it would be overturned on a technicality. The ancestors said, this is how you do that. Okay? And we're not accepting anything that they say because they can't even speak directly to us. We're not in the same place. We're not, they're in a corporation. We're out here on the land. So when I saw this, I said, okay, this is an invitation for me to get some credits, I guess, or to have our court speak. So what I did was I said, okay, first let me point out some things in these documents that's not true. First of all, the documents are fraud because they were addressed to an entity that does not exist. Secondly, it says here, City of Federal Way. Well, we know that that's not the government because it says City of Federal Way. We know it's not the land because the name of the land is Federal Way. And then we said, okay, we're here at Washington on the land. Who is this? Let's identify. Who is this speaking? Well, it says something about Tempe as AZ. Where does that exist? It only exists on paper. That is not the name of any place on this land that we know of. Or it's not on the land, period. And then we said, okay, let's just keep looking at things that state that this is something that not only it does it not apply to us, but we actually need to properly rebut it. And then it says amount due to $210. Well, this doesn't even say 210 Federal Reserve debt notes. It says $210. And we know that the only ones who have real dollars is us. Moorish Sovereign Dollarium, okay, so first of all, and this answers the thing about the use of Delarium, the question about the use of Delarium. A United States dollar is not a green piece of paper, it is a unit of measurement. So when someone says this is $210, dollars are all over the earth, all money is pegged to the dollar. Well, here on this land, before the Moors woke up and created our own money, the corpses said, well, that we have to put something in the place of the dollar. We have to put something in that unit of measure. We have to peg something to it. So they've pegged Federal Reserve debt notes to it. So we're saying, okay, we're the only ones who can even generate real dollars. That's how come you've not seen real dollars on the land floating around. It's just been debt notes. Every now and then there'll be somebody who can pull out something that our ancestors did from way back in the day, but it's so valuable that they don't spend them. And so then we said, okay, who did they even send this to? It says Federal Way, WA. WA is not a place. That's not a place. It's not on this land. And then this says 911 SW 314th PL. That's not a place. If it's south, it should say south. If it's north or east or west, it should say that. And then we said, okay, let's look at what they're saying about where this is, because we have a photo here. Well, this photo, again, we're looking at the technicalities in order to determine who's speaking. Who is this? In this photo, there's a tag that says Washington. It doesn't say anything about state of Washington. It doesn't even say anything about Federal Way. It says Washington in red. So I'm like, okay, that alone says that this corporation is outside of its jurisdiction. If these said Federal Way, that would be different. But if it said City of Federal Way, that would be different. But it doesn't even say that. It says Washington. Well, where is Washington? Washington is the land. And we know that we govern all land. So, okay, let's keep going. It says here, infraction date 10/14/2022. Are they talking about a corporate date that happens in their corporate calendar? Or are they talking about the date on the land? They can't talk about the land because they're not on it. And then it says 9:08 a.m. Well, what is a.m.? What does that even mean to them, to a corporation? For us, it is either antemeridian or it's there's another term for a.m. for us on the land. Those are Latin terms. Antemeridian is the English term, the ancient English term, because we spell meridian differently. And then there's another one, I think it's antemundo, something similar to that, which is the Latin term. But in a corporation, AM is not, that's not a time. That's not a time. So then they're saying, okay, now watch more, because this is technicalities we're looking at to determine if there's jurisdiction. This says that the state on the plate is WA. But that's not what the plate says. It says Washington. So we say, okay, we just keep finding stuff. Because, again, in order to determine if they have jurisdiction, you have to state who are you and where are you. Are you who are you and where are you? We've already negated this document as fraud right here at the top. City of Federal Way. That doesn't exist. It's not on the land. It's a dead corpse. We're not dead. We're living, etc. Okay. And so now it says here year and make. This says NIS. That's not even what this is. That's not a NIS. What is a NIS? NIS is not a make. So again, we're just looking at the technicalities. We first dealt with personam jurisdiction right up here with City of Federal Way. Does the City of Federal Way, first of all, exist? No, it does not. Because in order for you to govern something, you actually have to be where you're saying you're governing. Well, I've never been to City of Federal Way. I've never been there. I've always been on the land. So has my conveyance. So has everything else. This domicile is on the land. It's not at City of Federal Way. And it's definitely not at Tempe at AZ, whatever that means. So we've already proven just right here that there's no jurisdiction, okay? But we're just now pointing out a few more things that we can look at. And then it says here location, and it mentions here something City of Federal Way, okay? And then it says here Federal City, Federal Way, State WA. WA is not a state. That's not a state. Is there any 50 states called WA? No. So then we looked in here and we said, okay, what is this that they've sent, and what are they trying to get us to sign and to agree to? It says here, this reads, I certify under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of Washington. Okay, we don't, first of all, Moors are not under anything. We're not under penalty of perjury. We are without penalty for perjury. We are not under any laws. We are the law. And we're certainly not at the state of anything. We are Washington. We are Florida. We are Georgia. We are the land. So this was wrong. We just kept looking at it and we're saying, no, this is proof that whoever sent this is not where we are. So they couldn't possibly describe where we are and say we did something. Automated safety cameras, when it says automated safety camera, is that an injured party? No, it's not an injured party. It's a camera. And then we went down here to the bottom and it says officer right here. Richard Klein, Federal Way, Washington. Well, wait a minute. What happened to the City of Federal Way? Now this one here, claiming to be an officer, saying that he is at Federal Way, Washington. I have not deputized any officer by this name at Federal Way. I have not deputized whoever this is because we know we're the government. We're at Federal Way, the land. We're at Washington, the land. We've not deputized anyone as an officer. We don't know an officer by this name here operating on the land, okay? And so then we said, okay, let's just keep going. Let's just keep looking at what we see here. And again, we're just looking from our judicial perspective at who is this and do they have a claim or a case at all? No, they do not. Then it says here, again, state law, no. City of Federal Way. And then it says here, City of Federal Way, Washington. So they've described about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 or 6 different locations on this one document. 6 or 7 different locations. And when I say locations, I'm talking about paper that only exists on paper. City of Federal Way only exists on paper. Tempe as only exists on paper. That's 2 locations on paper that do not have anything to do with the land. This Federal Way wall, that's 3 locations that don't have anything to do with the land. This state wall doesn't have anything to do with the land. This one doesn't have anything to do with the land. Down here, state of Washington doesn't have anything to do with the land. This Federal Way, Washington, this is a fraud right here. We don't know him. We didn't deputize this one. So that's fraud. That's 5. Right here, 6, wall, fraud. City of Federal Way, Washington, that's 7, fraud. Seattle wall, fraud. Okay. So we see these things here. They, attempting to put some fraud over on us and then saying you must pay this amount right here, etc. So we already know, we're not even worried about it. We know that, okay, this is easy to rebut. So what we're going to do is we're going to reconstruct these documents and bring them onto, not bring these documents onto the land. We're going to create land documents, land receipts that tell where we really were. Okay, now this says that this conveyance was here on this date at this time. It says 10/14/2022, 9:08 a.m. Well, our government, and again, we're still talking about how to use Delarium here, and also how to reconstruct the scene, because in a courtroom there have been many cases where a scene was reconstructed. For example, and I'll just use this as an example there because they're good actors, the O.J. Simpson trial. Okay, they reconstructed the scene. Well, when you reconstruct the scene and you state where things really are, if that reconstruction proves to be true, then you cannot convict anyone because it's a jurisdictional issue. Who has jurisdiction over that reconstructed area? Whoever it is that reconstructs it has jurisdiction over it. And here's the problem with that from the other side over there, is that in 1933, they began reconstructing, and they were reconstructing from 1871. Turning everything into a corporation is reconstruction. So all we're doing is reconstructing in our favor back to what it should be on the land. So we said, okay, we're looking at this, and as a competent justice, such as you all are, because we're all competent chief justices, every last one of us Moors are competent chief justices. We said, okay, we're going to rebut this properly. So what did we do? We said, okay, we're going to reconstruct. Oops. We're going to reconstruct. Just one moment. We're going to reconstruct, and then what we're going to do is present our reconstruction in a court of law. So we began to reconstruct the scene. And in this reconstruction, just one moment, let me pull that up. Just one moment. Okay, here we go. In this reconstruction, we said, okay, our government issued an infraction as well, but it's something that needed to go to our court. So we said, okay, first of all, who's issuing? Because we're directly rebutting what was sent. Who is it that's issuing a receipt for a paid infraction? Federal Way, not city of, but the land, Federal Way, right here in this upper left corner here. Well, where did this receipt for a paid infraction come from? Tempe, Arizona, which is actually the land. And because it's commerce, there is a zip code there. Because it's commerce. Because that's all zip codes were supposed to be for. Commerce. Not the law, not jurisprudence, not the land itself, but commerce. So when our government issued this receipt for paid infraction, we properly rebutted in this one where we were at October the 14th, 2022 at 9:08 a.m. Our government says that we were at Federal Way. We were not at the city of Federal Way because that doesn't exist. So then we said, okay, this is our court speaking. Our court has stated that according to Title 12, USC 95A, because our court is speaking, full acquittance and discharge is now on the table. Because again, this is proving that we were at Washington. We were not at City of Federal Way. We were at Federal Way. Just like this photo shows here. This photo shows Washington in red. Well, we agree with that. With this photo, we don't agree with the other photo, even though they look the same. Our court has spoken, and our court says, okay, you are owed $210 in gold-backed money, real money. Okay? And so all we did was use our court and the law and our jurisdiction to state that, number one, who's speaking? When we speak, we say that we were on the land at Federal Way. We were not at City of Federal Way. So that one fact alone overturns everything. So now we say, okay, because that fraudulent paper was issued, we're going to go ahead and compensate ourselves for that. So the way we compensate ourselves, and then we just notified them that this took place in our court, just so that you're aware. Just one moment. So we said, okay, we're going to issue this receipt with the proper changes, the location. Our government says that it's right here, Ancient Federal Way, City, Washington. It says it right there. That's where we were. We agree with our government and our court. So when you look at Title 12 USC 95A, full acquittance and discharge, let's just take a look at that. Because that alone makes it so that now we can start racking up the credits. Because what we're going to do with this receipt is we're going to do a 1099 on the receipt. We're going to also create a United States Treasury check, and we're going to upload all of that to our bank account to get the credit for it. Okay, let's look at 12 USC and see where all of this comes from. So here it is, 12 USC, Title 12, Chapter 2, Subchapter 4, Section 95A, Banks and Banking. It says right here, any payment, conveyance, transfer, assignment, or delivery of property or interest therein made to or for the account of the United States, and we changed that to for the United States, or as otherwise directed pursuant to this section or any rule, regulation, instruction, or direction issued hereunder, shall to the extent thereof be a full acquittance and discharge for all purposes of the obligation of the person making the same, and no person shall be held liable in any court for or in respect to anything done or omitted in connection or in good faith in connection with the administration of or in pursuance of and in reliance on this section or any rule, regulation, instruction, or direction issued hereunder. Now, when this talks about good faith, you cannot have, and this is the problem with the fiat piece, that's not good faith because it's not according to the law. Fiat is not good faith. So people who've been trying to use it to do things, to get things, Islam, I'll unlock the meeting. I just noticed what you put in the chat. Okay, it should be unlocked. Just one moment. Okay, any payment, conveyance, transfer, that's any. Okay, so they were trying to discharge some debt, and we're saying no, we're going to discharge credit. Okay, and that's what gives us the authority, but again, it had to be in a proper court. If you try and do it in a debtor court, it's not going to work. They're going to keep trying to issue and discharge debt. Okay, but when you do it in a creditor court, which all Moors are the creditor, all Moors are the court, so what you say from your kitchen table, when you put it in court action language, that's an Article 3 court, that's the highest court on the land speaking. So you don't need to have some big gigantic meeting somewhere to handle your affairs, to govern your affairs. You can do it right from where you are today. You don't need it. This doesn't take a bunch of fiat going out and all of that. You need pen and paper to do this. So you can govern your affairs starting now based on what you're seeing right here. And this same thing goes for utilities, anything out there, okay? And now, we talked about groceries before, where we would go online and pick out all the things that we want at the grocery store, and then create a receipt, because it will total everything up and it'll give you a receipt, even, and this is before putting any fiat out there. It will put it in a cart and tell you how much it's going to be. So from that alone, you can create a receipt, do a full acquittance and discharge, and send that forth. Now, you do have to plan ahead, Morris. You got to lean the corporate covering off of that grocery store, and first and foremost, your nationality must be on the public record, because it is only the ones that are on the land that can do that. Okay? And you have to be able to state that you're on the land. Okay? So, just one moment. There's someone wanting to speak. Yes, you can just hit *6. Everyone is, you can hit *6 and state whatever it is that you, any questions or comments in the chat. It says Plex Torres L. Yes, Empress Chitali put in the chat, fiat is not equitable. No, it is not. So even with Amazon and all of these other companies, you can create a receipt, and you can actually upload that receipt to an email and email it to them with all of this here, and mark the receipt paid, full acquittance and discharge, do a court action. The court action is going to be the most important part, just based on what this is saying, on what 95A says. Okay? And that's why our courts were so important. Because anything that we do from our courts is valid when it's in alignment with the law. Okay? With regard to groceries, you will know ahead of time what you need. So you could say every 2 weeks, these are the things that are on my list every 2 weeks. So you could do it 2 weeks in advance. You could do it a month in advance. Okay, and then do a full acquittance and discharge from your court on whatever the receipt says. And then, Morris, this is the part right here about those receipts and stuff, and this is why we have to do it in advance, because in a very short while, I'm gonna show you the process of creating a treasury check and uploading that treasury check to your bank account. It has to have certain seals on it and things, but we're gonna those seals that the ancestors showed us, we are actually reconstructing those even, and we're going to, at our next meeting, that's the plan for the next meeting, which is Sunday, is to just one moment, next meeting, just one moment. So, when people who have, and I'll just reference this just because of what we've seen, and it paints a clearer picture with regard to what we're doing with all of this. People who have a lot of money, or who are perceived to have a lot of money, don't do things the way that we were doing things, where we would just get up, we would just take our fiat, and we would just go to the store and do this and this and this, on a whim. People who have the real wealth, which is us, we plan ahead. Everything is planned ahead. Allah is the best of all planners. And again, this is not about religion. This is about who we really are. So we're not here to espouse Islam to anyone. We're here to tell you that as the heirs, this is what we do. We plan ahead, and because we're the people, whatever we say is the system is going to do. Okay? So for even with, like, say, the mailing process, we put a mailing process that the ancestors showed us that because nobody was going to tell us. We put that mailing process together, we demonstrated it worked, and we said, okay, the Moors need to know about this. We put it on the public record, and now here some years later, it's working for everyone. All the Moors who are doing it, it's working for them.
Just like your Range Rover demonstration worked, huh, Pauline? Okay? Just so like that Range Rover demonstration. As they're done properly,
everyone, as they're done, and we finish them up, no one can tell us no, because we're competent at not just the lawful part, but the legal part.
The Mercedes dealership is telling you no, you dumb bitch.
The legal part of what we're doing
Mercedes dealership ain't having none of you.
The legal part of what we're doing is, just one moment, let me get the clown out, the court jester out.
Come on, Pauline, where's that fucking...
There you go, quiet. Quiet in the courtroom, order in here. So, anything that we want, we can have it. But this is an honor system, Moors. It really is. Because as I'm looking at the processes and watching the demonstrations work, we literally can write a check for whatever it is that we want, and we can have it. Okay? But that's not, but the reason for us having that type of authority is so that we can grow our government, and so that the empire continues to expand to the point where there's not even a single threat, not a threat, because it's not a threat, but that we never go back to what we came out of. And that our heirs never have to worry about being shot down in the street and all of that kind of theater, because that's craziness. That's why we have the authority to do what we're doing. Okay? It's so that we make this land, create this earth the way that it was intended to be created. And, yes, we talk about conveyances and groceries and domiciles and things like that. That stuff, to me, is a way by which others will wake up. Because that's what the foreigners used. They used things and money, quote unquote, fiat, to get everybody to go along with what they said. Okay, we're going to do the same thing in terms of, saying, hey, at least wake up. We don't need to tell people what to do, we make suggestions because you can't tell sovereigns what to do, no way. But all that it takes for them to wake up, I know in my spirit that in order for the heirs to wake up, some of them are going to have to go through some things in order for them to wake up. But there are some who don't need to have to go through that. They don't need to have to go through, going to jail for no reason. You don't need to have to go through that. But there are some who are so programmed by the system that it's going to take some things for them to wake up. But we see that, though. That's been happening all along. That's not new. It's not new. And so it's time. This is our time. And that's what the stuff is for. That's what the stuff is for. And then we keep our spirits clean and clear, and we remain. And I don't like the word humble. It's because I know there's another word for it. Humble, that term has been subrogated. It's the right term when we put our intention on it, though. So in order to get the things that you want to get, again, just like with the mailing process, we're putting the processes on how to get groceries, how to get whatever else you need. We're putting these processes on the public record. Use them, and they will be honored, just like the mailing process was honored. But it took some, practice from some to before it would work for them. Others got it right off the bat. Let's just keep going with what we're doing because everything belongs to us. Everything. Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom?
Yes. Thank you for this fucking hilarious comedy show.
Wow. Any comments from the living, the heirs? Maybe I should have clarified. Maybe I should have clarified. Islam Empress.
Kamika. You mentioned humble, and
yes.
Humble is an adjective derived from Latin humus, earth, soil.
Oh.
So it literally means to be grounded, to be on the ground.
Oh, I love it.
On the land, as we are, authentic
yes.
and real. So
that's why it's so important. That's why that particular quality, superpower, because it's a superpower.
Yes, it is.
It's difficult for some to get that superpower.
Yes.
It's difficult for some.
And it's very interesting because nowadays, being grounded, taking your shoes and socks off and going on the ground is a trend. And it is the way to be. People are paying for machines and all sorts of things to become grounded. And all we have to do is take ourselves right onto that land.
Yeah.
And who we are, which is authentic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
the frequency of it is just amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, I yield.
Islam. And I'll say this too. Recently I heard a sleeping Moorish minister. He claims to be a Christian. And if he says he's a Christian, then that's what he is, a Christian. And again, we love Christians. We have Christians in our kinship line, etc., etc. But he said something very wise. He said something so profound that I actually had to stop the video and think about it for a minute. This particular minister is from Zambia, Africa, the other part of Africa, because this is Africa too. And so over there where he's from, his family is involved in government. Well, he said that an embassy, and he used the term embassy, he was talking about altars. Okay? An altar, we're used to seeing an altar in a church where you go up to the altar and someone prays for you or whatever the case may be. And he was talking about altars and what they mean. And he said that when two sovereigns want to, when one sovereign wants to visit another sovereign and go to that sovereign's territory, what they do is they contact the embassy, and the embassy will make it so that they can come and visit the other sovereign. He said the embassy is an altar. And I thought, that's brilliant. Why is that brilliant? Because what that embassy does is it places a covering over, not over the sovereign, because we don't have anything over us, but it gives the sovereign the protection to go and do whatever they want to do in that territory, because they have the blessing of the sovereign whose territory it is. But that means altering, and he didn't say this, but I knew what he meant. That means they just give them some documents that say, yes, they can come and be here, and they're sovereign in this territory too. What do? All they're doing is taking the words, the name, putting it on a piece of paper, and saying, he's one of us. And so when you think about the consulate, because see, this is why consulates were so important to this land, and they had to be set up by us because it's our land. And this guy said that. He said that in international law, when someone wants to set up an embassy so that people can contact them so that they can come to their territory, that embassy can only be set up by the sovereign at that territory. I was like, and again, Moors, all territories belong to us. So when we set the consulate, when we didn't set it up because it's been since time immemorial. When we activated, all of us, when we activated this iteration or this branch of the consulate, which is an earthwide vine and fig tree, earthwide. When we activated this, that means that we had to begin tearing down the old altars and putting the new and activating the new altars. Well, what does that look like? That looks like every document that comes either to or from this consulate, and that's all of us, is altered from the dead state to the living state. When we say that our appellations are in capitis diminuto nolo in red ink, we're altering it from something dead to something and creating something living. So in the Biblios Heliotech, it talks in many places about destroying the old altars and putting up new altars. That's talking about the courts and the documentation. So whenever you went into a fake court, they would alter the paperwork, and hopefully you would agree, according to them, that yes, that dead thing that they created is you, and when it's not. They were altering, and that's why churches and courtrooms look alike. That's why they look the same, because they're altars. That's why there was a church on every corner and a liquor store and a gun store on every corner where we were living. Because you had to get the people in, and all you needed was for them to agree to something, anything, no matter what it is. Just get their consent to agree to anything, and you could have stayed there until they say you can't be there anymore. And then you get them to sign documents, whether it be tithe envelopes, whether it be membership rolls, whether it be an application. And with every single one of those were altars. They were altering and saying, no, you have to be a dead United States Corporation Company citizen in order to use this or be here or do this. Those are altars. And so the consulate, when I realized this, it did something to my soul in the best way. The consulate and this government that we all are is a fulfillment of the prophecies, the ancient prophecies that say that the old altars were going to be torn down at Jerusalem, the land, and the chosen people were going to do it. And that we were going to set up altars that were holy, that were righteous, and that was going to be done by way of the judges. And that's in Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, in the Biblios-Heliotheque. It talks about when the judges and the consuls are restored, then the city will be called a beautiful city. All of that is its legal proclamations done by the ancient civils who wrote the Biblios-Heliotheque. And it's also spiritual. Because did you know that without, and this is key, without the legal authority, entities that are on the earth cannot do what they need to do or what they want to do. Without legal authority, the spirit realm is hindered in its operation. And that's why whenever we went to fake courts thinking, oh, we'll just tell them we're Moors and that'll be our pass. No, we actually have to know the legal process. And then when we know it, we can edit it and change it and update it and upgrade it and uplift it and make it incorruptible and unalienable and inalienable so that it works for us the way it's supposed to work for us. That can only be done by a court. It must be a lawful court, which we all are. And then the lawful courts have to know the legal processes. That's why we can do all the things that we're doing, because we know the legal processes. And that's what we're doing now, is learning remembering all of that with regard to commerce even. Okay? So we have everything that we've ever seen rightfully belongs to us. We know that. And all we have to do is know the process on how to do it and then show that we have the authority to do it. How do we do that? Our courts, of course. Our courts. And so, from this point, There's a question inbox that says, how should we govern all of the medical dispensaries and casinos on our land so we have full access to our resources? So, as with anything, you first must notify whoever it is and notify them of where they are. Do they know that they're on the land and not floating around on a piece of dead corporate paper? Do they know that? And do they know who you are, and do you have the authority to do what you're doing? Have you competently shown that you have the authority to do what you're doing? So, as we continue moving in the use of our money, the use of our courts, the use of the forms that we're creating, the creation of the forms is a key too, simply because when you use their forms, you're dialing into their system. But when we create our own forms, we're creating our own system, and that system already knows what to do. Once all it takes is for us to just keep creating, continue to create the forms, and know the process. The ancestors want us to have all of the stuff. They want us to have all of that. Okay. Medical dispensaries and casinos, those are commercial venues that need to be governed. They need to be regulated. And so, those Moors that are choosing to regulate those types of venues need to do the study on how to do it. But it's always going to start with the same things that we've laid out here. Name change and judicial proclamation, termination of all corporate contracts, preparing fiduciary documentation, firing, removing from office any corpses, doing things first in that highest heaven, which is the red documents, the documents that are in red and all lowercase letters in ancient English, because in the financial world, in the financial arena or the financial venue, things are done first, or authority is established first in the language of that nation or that government. Our national language is ancient English. And any more can, you already know ancient English. You already know it. All it is you spell things the way you're led to spell them instead of feeling confined to corporate English. There are many different dialects of English. Ancient English is the oldest. It contains all of the languages. So when you see us writing ancient English in our initial documents, that's establishing that we are the ancients on the land. We're older than Spanish language. We're older than the French language. We're older than these languages. So we say, okay, ancient English is what we will use, and it encompasses French words, Spanish words, Latin words, patois. It has all the languages in it because they all come from us. And so in the commercial venues, to establish your ancient authority, you do some documents in ancient English first, and then you do documents in common English, and you can call it commercial English if you like, or courtroom English. You can call it that. And then the third and final presentment is the corporate documents. And that's the memos with the logos and, all of that, stating that we're the CEOs and fiduciaries and attorneys in fact and trustees and all of that. This is how you use your trust. This is how you do it. Any payment, you do it by court action. And it must be competent courts. That's why we have these congressional assemblies. The courts shall be competent in order to do it. And as I'm looking at even the Treasury documents, because we needed we needed to create the Treasury first, and Arlene's did that. And then in order to actually minister instruments, checks from the Treasury, we needed to first prove that we're competent to do so. And in looking at those documents, competence to do so is all throughout the documents. All throughout the documents. And we're excited to show that part. We just wanted to know how much we could show based on what the ancestors tell us, which is how we've been doing everything that we do. And so if the ancestors say to do it a particular way, we want to do it that way. I will say this too, that anyone who's doing liens and things like that, if you're going to use a lien form that you've created, and this is just a suggestion because we see Moors doing it already, and we know the documentation that we've put on the public record here at Washington Territory, we would suggest that if you're going to use the UCC form that you create, that you send it to the state secretary's office here, which is, let me give you the mailing location for that. It is 801 Capitol Way South. Yeah, 801 Capitol Way South, Olympia. And please spell out Washington so that we know that it's going to the real Washington, the land. And we'll put that here on the screen. And then with regard to this is, let me take this off of here and put it on here the right way. This is actually how we would do a mailing location. And if you want to put the custodian, the name of the custodian on there, may not even be one actually. Okay. Y'all look at all of this. They trying to make him brown here because we made him brown. You know, our Washington is brown, is an original indigenous Washington. So you could actually put, to me this is just a sign, you could actually put, when you're mailing things here, you can even put my appellation if you want. And generally, you can upload liens onto the website. I would do it that way, upload it onto the website. That way you don't have to mail anything if you don't want to mail anything. But if you did want to mail your liens in along with affidavits, then you can do it this way with no zip code. Okay. So with that being said, it would be more convenient to just upload them to the website. Islam. So with that being said, if there is nothing further, we will go ahead and adjourn here until Sunday. And either Sunday or Thursday, we will show. Well, let me think about that. Let me think some more, because I keep getting some things in my spirit. Maybe there's something more the ancestors want to show us. Let me think about how best to do this. I'm excited to do any work that the ancestors tell us to do from within our spirits. I just want to make sure we do everything the way it's supposed to be done. So with that being said, is there anything further from this Sovereign High Court? Islam.
One more thing, I just want to say that evidence of the picture being changed from a pale skin to they tried to copper color it the best they could. Is proof evidence that, hey, we got this.
Yeah, we do. We do. The ancestors just keep affirming and affirming and affirming, saying, yes, keep going, keep going, keep going. And when we see stuff like that, we just chuckle, because we know that we create our reality more. Everything has to be what we say it is. Okay. The website it would be the sos.wa.gov. So www.sos.wa.gov. Look there, go there and look, and you'll find what you need in terms of either you can send it by email or you can upload it. And I believe the Department of the Department of Licensing, which is actually the licensing ministry here, their website has UCC information on it also. But again, always send your affidavit with the form that you've created. Don't use their forms. Create your own UCC form and make it look just like the ones that they put up there. Okay. So we see evidence that that the ancestors absolutely honor everything that we say and do as we move in the right frequencies. And the right frequency is just a peaceful one. That to me is simple. It's easy to be peaceful. We've declared peace on the land, and we're not out for revenge. We're not out for any of that, because everything it always has belonged to us. So right now we're just remembering how to get the things that belong to us. And to me, that's a joyful process. Who wants to war when you got all this stuff waiting for you? So we have to, there's some other things that are coming up. For example, in preparation for one of our future meetings, if everyone could please look up the Jones Act with regard to shipping, the Jones Act. Shipping and please research, because at some point we're going to have to discuss this and take a vote on the Jones Act and putting it on the public record. What the Jones Act is it states that, okay, so most of us know that there are shipments of things that are waiting to come in, shipments of natural products, natural foods, and all of that have been waiting to enter our sovereign living ports. But they can't come in until we liberate as a Congress on the Jones Act. What the Jones Act says is that only ships that are properly marked can come into our ports. And we can either keep it that way and make sure that no foreign ships enter the port, or we can say we can waive the Jones Act, and if we waive it, then foreign ships can come from everywhere as long as they're lawful and legal and peaceful. They can bring whatever it is they're going to bring. Now, either way, we're going to get everything we need, okay, in terms of food, clothing, shelter, whatever is coming. Not shelter, but food and clothing and all of that. Whatever we need from the other lands can come, and then we can send our goods to other places. I am inclined not to allow anything foreign at all, just because of the general resolutions for the United Nations. Okay, and that the general resolutions say that as a sovereign state and nation, we should not depend on anything foreign for our economic and national sustenance. Our ability to maintain and do the things that we do. We should not have to depend on anything or anyone foreign. Does that mean we won't accept any foreign things? We can, but with stipulation. So we need to look at the Jones Act as a Congress over the next few weeks, so that we can put something on the public record about it, so that the ships can do what they need to do. The Jones Act, it actually states that between two Moroccan or American ports, that the foreign ships can't go from one to the other, that it has to be our ships that go from one of our ports to another one of our ports, as opposed to coming from other lands. So, as far as we're concerned, even the Moors at UK and the Moors at Jamaica and the Moors at French Guiana and all the other places, that's still domestic for us. Those lands still belong to us, earth-wide. So now when you start talking about what's foreign, you're talking jurisdiction. So those are some considerations that we are going to be looking at, especially now that our commerce is where it is getting to where it needs to be, so that we can commercially bring things in. However the ancestors say do that. So with that being said, that's a consideration for an upcoming. It may not be this Sunday. It may not be Thursday, but it's going to be sometime soon. We need to look at that as a Congress and as the government, so that we get to state who and what is doing things on the land. who's coming here and who's entering and exiting our port. So, with that being said, peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Islam, peace and
Islam.
Islam, peace and grand rising, more.
Islam.
Grand rising.
Islam, peace and rising.
Peace and grand rising.
Islam. Peace and grand rising to all the Moors.
Islam.
Peace and grand rising to all the Moors.
Matando Maminge, Izola.
Islam.
Islam.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Grand rising. Islam. Matando Maminge Zola. Empress, I learned. I got it.
I tell you.
That is such a beautiful language. It's beautiful.
It really is. It really is, and it's still spoken. Saints on the side. I mean, all over. You know, people just don't necessarily recognize that they're even speaking it.
Yes.
It's part of the patois. Patois is the people's language.
Islam.
A mix up of everything, so it's wonderful.
Islam, indeed.
Islam. Alhamdulillah.